also just gonna add our WhatsApp group. Then also you can WhatsApp me on 0837908387 for me to add you to a WhatsApp group, but I also just want to put in the link to the group so that you can join via the link as well. So let me just quickly do that. Okay. And hopefully more students will join later on, but let's get going. So basically today, I just want us to concentrate on simple interest. So we will look at simple interest, simple discount. Then the next session will be on compound interest. The reason why we're doing simple interest on its own is we're not, when you look at your financial calculator, all the functions in your financial calculator is built to cater for compound interest. So simple interest and simple discount will need to use the formulas. So we will not be able to get away from not using the formula. So the simple interest and discount, we will need to use formulas. I will, as we get closer to the exam time, I will share a 1 or 2 pager with you guys that covers all the formulas, that you have it on 1 or 2 pages. As you will also see, as you do assignments, as you do prep for the exam is normally open book. So yes, you are allowed to have these presentations that I'm sharing today. I will also share it on our WhatsApp group, and it will also be put onto the Western Cape portal, so it will be available there as well. Okay, so simple interest, there's a few things that in simple interest we will need to understand, but what we will also do in the next session, when we look at compound interest, we will broaden some of those things. But when we look at simple interest, basically what is happening in simple interest is you are putting away money and you get an interest on that money. You earn interest on that money. Compound interest, when we do that in the next session, that is when you get interest on your interest. So, but simple interest is just you put your money aside and you will accumulate interest on that lump sum that you will have, but not on the interest component. So when we look at the formula, so I will now go after this, just go back to that list of things. You will see that if you look at the formula, and what I've shown is a few types of formulas, because again, when you Google simple interest, you might get a different view on how they write it. So basically just your simple interest, if you need to calculate the end value, your future value or your S, it will be a calculation that you take the current principal value and you multiply it by the interest rate and time period. Okay, so when you look at the simple interest formula, you might get formulas that is looking like this as well. 1 plus RT, so exactly the same. Then you also get sometimes where the future value is present value with a 1 plus RT. So that is just different ways of writing the formula. But what is important is your financial calculators, the formulas built in there is for compound interest. So when you get the future value, the present value, all those things on your financial calculator is built for compound interest. Okay, so that's why, in a sense, it's important that we have these formulas with us. Again, you don't need to study it. Open book, you are allowed to use your formula pages that I will share as well. Okay, so just when we look at simple interest, so we will work out interest. So that's one component. We will talk about a simple interest rate. Also important when we go through some of the exercises, and I think you guys have already started some of the assignments. They need to tell you if you're working with a simple interest rate or compound. Otherwise, you will not know which one to use. So they must tell you what is the interest rate. Then we're sitting with a principal value, PV, present value. So that is the amount that you will put down. So that is your principal value. Again, in compound interest, we will also look at present values. Then there's a term. So that term, they can specify a few things. So they can tell you it is yearly. They can tell you it is monthly. So it all depends again on the question. So they can tell you you invest it yearly for 4 years, or it can be you're getting interest on a monthly basis for 4 years. So again, we will look at the term and decide, are we going to use that? Then the interest rate and simple interest is exactly the same. Then we look at your future value or the amount at the end of the term. So that is basically your present value plus some interest will give you your future value. What we're going to do a lot in simple interest, compound annuities when we get there, I like drawing a timeline, and they explain that as well. And the reason why I like it is it just gives you a quick picture of what you need to do. Again, remember you writing multiple choice in the assignment and the exam, so they can't give you marks or ask you to write down a timeline, but it's more for yourself to see how to solve the question rather than being marked on that. So years ago, when it was still when you were writing in exam in a room or something, you, the students always needed to hand in their rough work so that the lecturers could see it. But nowadays, everything online, multiple choice. So it's more for you to, while you're writing online, you can, on a piece of paper, draw a timeline for yourself and work it out. Okay, and then, so that component was simple interest. And then there's a bit of simple discount rate that we're also going to look at. So normally how a discount rate works is they will say, well, you could buy something over a year, it would cost you a certain amount, but if you pay it off within 8 months, you will pay it off with a discount rate so that you basically pay it off sooner with less interest that is being paid on it. So that is nearly how the simple discount rate works. It's just you paying it off over a shorter time. Because you're paying it off over a shorter time, you will be saving some money on it. So we will look a bit at some of the discount functions. And then the last thing that is important nearly is number of days. So in your study guide, at the back of a study guide, there is a few appendixes, and one of them is counting days. So where this does become applicable with simple interest and then later on with compound interest as well, they can ask you work out what was the interest between 5 Jan and 12 Feb or something like that, so that you need to work with days instead of months or yearly, and then that days you will be able to count how many days by using that table. Okay, so very important is that table at the end of your study guide. I just want to quickly check if I have the study guide on my laptop that I can quickly just show you guys. If I don't have it, I will just make let's quickly, so let me just quickly show you guys so that you have a view of it. So way at the back, and I think what is also nice at the end of your study guide, there is also nice formulas. So even if you look at the last few pages and you can print that out, or when you have a nice set of formulas for you to use. But the counting of days is in table appendix C in your study guide, page 201. Okay, and here you can see that if we set between 2 days, we will need to say, let's say between the 2nd of Feb and the 15th of September. So if we need to work out how many days are between those two, we would have just said 258 minus 33. Okay, so we're not going to count it by looking at a calendar or anything like that. You're going to use this table to work with that to see how many days is in the calculation that we need to use. But I have a question that we will work through that does look at that. So please, and let's do this. So if if you don't have this table, and to the guys that will listen to this later on, I'm gonna make a copy of this and just put it in the presentation slide pack, so that you have it when needed. Okay, so then at least you can reference it in the slide pack when you have it. Okay, so the number of days, we're going to use it now in simple interest. When we get to compound interest, we're also going to use it there, because at the end of that study unit of compound interest, they're going to ask you questions on a mix question. So they will ask you that you need to solve and work out what's the future value with a period that's compound interest, with a period that's simple interest, and then maybe a period that's compound interest again. But as I said, we will look at that after we've done compound interest. Okay, so let's go into the formulas again. So two things that they can ask you to work out. They can ask you to work out just what is the simple interest. So basically, what is the interest that you've earned if you put away money? So that will just then be your principal times your interest rate times the period that we're talking about. So if it is yearly, if it's monthly, if it's daily, that will be your time period. And if you multiply those three together, you will get the simple interest that you have earned. So sometimes they ask you to work out simple interest, and sometimes they ask you to work out what is the future value of that investment that you made with the interest that accumulated. So then we will use the second formula where we need to work out the future value, and that will be then with the formula P1 plus RT. Okay, so that is another way. And another way could have been to work out the future value is by working out the simple interest. So if you worked that out and you just add the present value, you will also get the future value. So just another way that we can work it out is if we have the future value, or if you want to work it out, you can just say, let's work out the simple interest, and then we need to add the present value to it. Okay, so that can also be a way to work it out. They might not always give you all the information to work out it in this way. So sometimes they can tell you the simple interest that you earned is 600 Rand. The principal that you put away was 600 or 6,000. What is your future value? So they might give some questions like that as well. Okay, so let's just show you guys a few things that they love to ask as well. And I'm going to do this after each study unit, because so we've got this simple interest formula for the future value. So the 1 plus RT. Okay, so sometimes they might ask you to write it that P is the subject of a formula, so they might give you information so that you need to work out what's the principal. Okay, so for us to work out that from the original, you can see the only thing we need to do, we need to isolate the P. How we isolate that is to divide on both sides with 1 plus RT. Okay, so then on the right-hand side, that would have fallen away. So we sit with P is equal to S over 1 plus RT. Okay, so that is one way that we can rewrite the formula. The other one is if they ask us, we need to make R the subject or the object of a formula. Okay, so then you see we need to do a few other steps. So let's just rewrite this, and then I'll show you how to. So we want R as the object. So then the first thing I would do is say, okay, I need to get rid of that P so that I can get to work with the things in the brackets. So it will be S divided by P is equal to 1 plus RT. Then I still need to get to the RT, so I will need to get rid of that 1 on both sides. So if I subtract 1 on both sides, I will get that S over P minus 1 is equal to RT. And now you can see if I want to get rid of the T so that I isolate the R, I need to basically divide both sides with T. So that will give me R. And if I wanted to get T, I just would have, instead of dividing by T on both sides, I would have divided by R. So again, what they love to ask in some of the questions is they will ask you to rewrite a formula. It might be later on when we get to compound interest, when we get to retirement annuities or annuities. They might ask there for some of the things. So I will, after each session, I would just do that and show you how to rewrite some of the formulas, because it might also be that we need to work out some of it in a question. So let's look at a few questions. You will, when I share it on the group, you will see I've got all the answers I have included for you as well, and the method to work it out, but we will work through a few examples. The other thing is, for some of these questions, I haven't included like it will be in your assignment. So your assignment, there will always be 4 or 5 answers. So because it's multiple choice, it will always have options for you to pick. So what I've now done is just shown it without options so that we can work through the questions a bit. Okay, so let's look at this first one, and let's look what we need to work out and how we will solve it. So they ask us, at what simple interest rate must 7,000 be invested for a period of 9 months to accumulate to 7,630. And let's write down that that formula, and let's see what they are asking us. So they say at what simple interest rate. So we need to get to the R. Okay, so we need to work out what is the interest rate. So again, because we can't use our calculators for this, because the calculator only works at compound interest, we would have needed to rewrite it in this formula. Okay, so S divided by P minus 1, that divided by T will give me the R that I'm looking for. And so we've got the future value, the S is 7630. We've got the present value, or the principal, is 7,000. We will subtract 1 from that, and then we'll divide it by the time. And the time was 9 months. So we need to say 9 divided by 12. And so if we do that, we get 7630 divided by 7,000. So let me just write that down. And that would give us 0.12. But remember, we need to work out what is the rate. So the rate is always in a percentage. So we will multiply that by 100 so that we can get 12%. Okay, so that is how we would have worked out that first question, to work out what is the simple interest rate. Okay, so yes, we start off with the simple interest formula where they give us the future value, the present value, and then we work out what is the interest rate. And you will see it's the same. We've done it in this one as well. So you can look at it in the slide that I will share. There is the method of how to do it. Okay. So the second question is exactly the same. So not going to look at the second question. I will share again so you guys can look at the second question, and then if you're struggling with it, we can chat on a group around it. But basically the same process. So they talk about his principal value, they talk about his future value. It's 4 months from now, and they want you to work out what's the simple interest rate. So you will work it out exactly the same as the first question. Okay. But I want to get to this third question because here is a very good example of accounting of days. Okay, so how large an amount must be invested on the 3rd of March at a simple interest rate of 12% per year to accumulate to 612 Rand on the 2nd of May of that same year. Okay, so again, if we look at the S equal to P1 plus RT, so we get the interest rate. We're going to work out how long it was. We need to work out the P. So here we need to work out two things. The final answer, we will need to work out what the P is, but also we need to work out the T of how many days it is. But don't give it to us like in question 1 and 2, where they exactly say it's 4 months or 30 days. So that is also what we will need to work out. So let's just firstly rewrite it that we know we need to work out P. So isolate P. So we will need to say S divided by 1 plus RT. Okay, so basically we've got S is 612. We've got the interest rate 0.12, but we will need to work out with how many days. So let's see. They say from the 2nd of May till back to the 3rd of March. Okay, so let's 2nd of May, 3rd of March. So let's just quickly check. 2nd May, 122 minus 3rd of March, 62. So 122 minus 62, that gives us 60 days. Okay, so let's work out the bottom components first. Some of your calculators is a bit nicer than mine, that my HP, I first need to work out brackets because it works in a different order, but I know the Sharp and the Casios, you guys can nearly put this all in as one time, and you can work it out. I unfortunately can't, so I just quickly want to work out. So 0.12 times 60 divided by 365 plus 1. So I get that 612 divided by 1.02. So if I worked out that 0.12 times 60 divided by 365, I would have gotten 0.02 plus the 1 is 1.02. Okay, so I get that it is roughly 600 Rand and 16 cents. So they would, again, in your assignment or in your exam, they will say approximately, so that it is 600. They will not give you options like 600, 616, 620, and those kind of things. They will give you an option of 600. So they won't go to the decimals with that. And you can also see here the answer was 600. So they will not give you options of 617 cents, 618 cents. they will give you the amount, or they might just say approximately which numbers, so that they round it off to 600 Rand. Okay, so again, I think I have added the formulas in for you, or how to work it out. But here you can also see I use the table to get 2nd May is 122. The 3rd of March is 62. And with that, you get to the 60. They've also shown here a bit if you want to break it up in the months, but again, that becomes very, I I don't want to say difficult, but one can very easily make a mistake if you now start to break it up like that, and it's not needed. Okay, so they will not ask you to work out what is the the interest or the payment for the 1st month and the 2nd month, and for those extra 1 or 2 days. Okay, they will not ask that. So always the easiest just to do it as one, instead of trying to break it up into a bit of months, because it really then it becomes very difficult, and you can very easily add to one of the months and not with the other months. So I would rather just, when it is counting days, I would go to the table and I would find out the end date and the beginning date, subtract the two, and from there I will work out what is needed. Okay, so they have shown both, but please, I would use the second option of just looking at the table and subtracting the two. Okay, so that is a way to work out simple interest. Then we get into simple discount. And basically what discount is, like I said at the beginning, is that you basically paying off something in a quicker rate. So by default, because you're paying it off quicker, you are going to pay less. Okay, so discount rates, we don't really see this in practice a lot anymore, to be honest. So simple interest, yes. Compound interest, yes. Simple discount, not a lot. So this is nearly one of those things that you're going to see it more in assignments and in exam papers when you're really out in the market, because simple discount is not nearly a term that we still use. Something that might be similar in a sense is if you put something on lay-by, or but then it is more likely that you will pay more. So simple discount is not really a thing that is being used anymore a lot. So, but let's look at how it is used, how it is calculated, so that if it is in assignment or if it is in the paper at the end of the year, you will know how to work it out. So like the interest, if we need to work out the interest that you need to pay on the deposit, there's the same formula for discount. So the discount, the only difference is now it will be the future value multiplied by the discount multiplied by the term. So discount now is done with S times the discount times the T. Remember, if it was interest, it would have been your principal value times your interest rate times your discount, times your term, sorry. So now the only big difference is now you're working with your future value. So you're working with that S. So if we also needed to rewrite it in the present value, future value format, we would have said future value times 1 minus dt is equal to your present value. Okay, so present value is future value 1 minus dt, where if it was interest rate or simple interest, it would have been future value, would have been present value times 1 plus RT. Okay, so just also important to see the differences because they might also ask in a question that you need to sometimes you get a simple discount rate and you need to put it back into a simple interest rate. So if there's not one in the questions we're doing today, I will definitely add one for questions later when we do the exam prep and all those kind of things. Okay, so that is the two concept with a simple discount. So let's quickly get into a question. So here I just wanted to do the counting days. So I'm gonna put those two together and move it just up where we have talked about the counting of days. So here it was just, again, I wanted to show, so if we need to have an arbitrary between 2 days, 11th of September and 19th of March, it would have been exactly the same. 11th September is the is the 254, and then if we had, what was the other day, 19 March the 19, and we would have subtracted those. Okay, so again, this is just when you guys are get the presentation, just play around with this, because it might be that they do ask it in, well, they will definitely ask it in the assignments. They will not ask it as in work out the number of days. It will be something like this in question 3, where they will bring it in. So let's see if they've done something like that in question 7 as well. So let's quickly see. Question 7, SIPO borrows money on the 31st of August and signs an agreement stating that he will pay back the loan on 2 November. Okay, so 31st of August, and he will pay it back 2nd November. If a discount rate is 18% per year, so let's look at this formula. So present value is equal to future value 1 minus dt. And let's now be clever about that. Let's copy it in from here. Why not? When we have it, and we don't need to, and when it is also on the in the presentation, then you have it as well as part of this. Okay, so let's see what is important. Okay, so formula of the simple discount. B is equal to S1 minus dt. Okay, so they tell us if a discount rate is 18%, we don't know yet what T is, but we know there's days, and if it is days, we're going to divide it by 365. And he receives 5,000 on 31st of August of the same year. What is the face value? Okay, so he receives, so the principal that he receives is 5,000. And we will need to work out what is that face value, the S. So let's quickly look at 2 November to 31st August. Let's check 2 November, and let's just draw it that we get it. And that's also what I would do if I were using the study guide, is nearly use paper, write it down. So 2nd of November is 306, that we have it. And it was the 31st of August, so let's just check August 243. Okay, so 306 minus 243. 306 minus 243. Okay, so again, don't try to count the days in between. Use the table. 306 minus 243 on a calculator. It gives me 63 days. Okay, then I'm going to work out what is in brackets, so then it is easier to say the 5,000 divided what is in brackets to get to our S. So 63 divided by 365 times 0.18. So we need to divide this 5,000 by 0.031. Okay, made a mistake. So you can see I totally forgot about 1 minus. So I only did the dt component. So very easily how quickly one makes a mistake. And so let's quickly, so it is not divided by that. It is divided by 1 minus that. So that gives you not 0.031. It gives us 0.969. Okay, So 5,000 divided by 0,969, that will give us our future value or face value. So our future value or face value is 5160, and if we need to round it off to 2 decimals, 0.32. Okay, again, can't use the built-in calculator because that is only when we work with with compound interest. So this one, we first needed to write the formula. Out of this, you can, if you want to rewrite it into what you need to get the S. So if you wanted to say at this stage, S is equal to P divided by 1 minus BT, you can do it as well. Okay, so again, nearly check what's the easiest for you and how you need to do it, so that when you get to the simple discount and the simple interest, because you will need to work it out with a type of formula, that we use it that way. And let's just quickly check if this was correct. So the 63 days, working with that formula, 5160.32. Okay, so then the last one of today. So let's just quickly check. We've done the interest, we've done simple interest, we've done simple discount, we've done number of days. So the last one that I just want to show you is when you need to now change the simple discount rate into the simple interest rate. Okay, so that also is one of those that is very important, is to change one rate into the another. Next time when we do compound interest, there's a lot of compounding interest and those kind of things that we will need to change the rates as well. But that's for the next session. This one is just change simple interest into simple discount, or simple discount into simple interest. Okay, so they can ask it to both sides, and I think that is also important, is they can ask it into both sides. So let's quickly check. They ask us what is the equivalent interest rate of the previous questions, or the previous questions. So let's have that in mind. So we need to work out what is the interest rate. So can we work out with, sorry, not, so interest that is equal to PRT. So let's quickly check. Okay, we have that interest, we have the term. Okay, so we can work out what that is. So let's quickly see the interest that was paid is 5160.32 minus 5,000. That was the interest paid. so that we have I. So again, we're not giving, sorry, now you can see when I don't write neat, very easily make a mistake. That should be 0, so 160.32 is your interest. So we need to get to R. So I divided by PT will give me my simple interest rate. So interest was 160.32. I had the principal. They told us the principal was 5,000. And I had the term. The term is again the 63 divided by 365. Okay, so what I don't like about this is if you have made a mistake in this question 7 now, question 8 will automatically be wrong nearly. So if you made a mistake and worked out your future value wrong, now suddenly your interest component is wrong. If you have worked out the number of days between those two, your number of days will also be wrong in the second question. So we don't get a lot of these anymore in your assignments where they basically ask you to do one question and then work with some of the answers to get to the second question. Because again, way back when this was in-person exams, they would have marked with your mistake. Now they can't. So a lot of times we will not get this anymore where the second question is based on the previous question's answers. But let's still do it. So again, my calculator, unfortunately, I will now first need to work out what that fraction is at the bottom. I don't have all the functionalities that we can just put that into one equation, but again, you don't need to. If your calculator, and I know the Sharp can do this all in ones, just use brackets, then you can do it all in one. But let me first, I'm taking 63 divided by 365, then I multiply it by 5,000. So at the bottom, I get 863.01. So if I then say 160.32 divided by 863.01, I get 0.186, and then I need to put it in an interest rate, so I need to multiply it by 100. So my percentage then is a bit different because of the rounding off. So 18.58%. Okay, and again, what I have done for you guys is here is the steps as well, so that you can again go and look at it. Also the numbering between the two dates. So it is all in this presentation. So I will share that again with you guys on the WhatsApp group just a few minutes or a bit later this afternoon. Okay, cool. So then the last thing I just want to show you guys, and we will do this a lot in the next session, is time value of money. So they quickly talk about it in this study unit with simple interest, but actually we will use it much more in compound interest, where we suddenly do this component where it is the exponent of. So normally if it's simple interest, your formula or the line will be a straight line where you just every time accumulate interest, and that gets paid into an account, so it will be just a straight line of growth. But when we get into compound interest and we use the time value of money, because it is interest on interest, you will get that the graph basically does something different, and it will go up like that because you get interest on interest. So at the first period, it will be very similar, but then after a while, there will be a gap between the two, because of the method that we work it out. What they also sometimes like to ask is a question on, so we will cover that also in the next session, is if you've invested money at a simple interest rate for a period, how much is the difference if you have done it compounding? So that you need to nearly work out the compound interest formula, need to work out what it was with simple interest, and then you subtract the two to see how much more you would have gotten if you'd done it compounding versus simple interest. Okay, so that is it for today. So starting off with a simple interest, next time, and that's not going to be next week, it is my birthday next week, so we're going to do the 31st of August, so in 2 weeks time. We will focus on compound interest, and everything that goes with compound interest. So there's compound interest. We're going to look at compound interest monthly, quarterly, yearly. We're going to look at the differences between effective rates and nominal rates. So all of that will be part of our compound interest discussion. We will look at investment that you invest for a period with a simple interest rate, then it changes over to compound interest, and then it changes over to simple interest again, because we're combining it with the counting of days calculation. So that is things that we will do in compound interest. That is in 2 weeks time. We will cover that. Okay, so that is a shorter session today than originally planned. So next time it will be, the compound interest will be a longer session. We will nearly cover it in the 2 hours that is set out for the 31st of August. So we will cover compound interest in that section. So yeah, thank you guys for attending on a Saturday morning, afternoon. I know it's not always easy.